My mum died in January 2022. In the weeks following her passing, myself, my sister, and my dad were inundated with sympathy cards and messages of condolence. As news of her death spread, there were text messages, Facebook messages, and phone calls. A week after my mum's funeral, I went to see my dad. He was still grief stricken, of course, but that grief was made worse by a complete lack of contact from the friends and family that had been in contact before the funeral and that had even been in attendance to pay their last respects. It's like they've forgotten her already, he said, with tears in his eyes. They've all just moved on. I tried to tell him that people have busy lives, that they may be grieving privately, or that, like me, grief is just too painful and is something to avoid. He was right, though. Me and my sister both noticed it as well. The news of my mum's passing brought long lost relatives and friends out of the woodwork, but they all vanished again when the initial fuss was over. Maybe they thought they'd done enough. 108 days from now, it will be the 10th anniversary of the Didcot disaster that claimed the lives of 4 demolition workers. 10 years, 3,544 days. In all that time, I've sat here and written about and talked about and broadcasted about that incident. But did I do enough? I did some initial fundraising to try to help the bereaved families, but most of that was within weeks of the incident. There's been virtually nothing since. I've probably done over 100 TV, radio, and newspaper interviews on the subject of Didcot over the course of the past decade. But that too was front loaded. I did more than 20 the day after the incident itself, but I've done just 4 this year. I've done my best to keep this horrific incident in the spotlight, but could I have done more? I've written to 3 different Home Secretaries about the Didcot disaster and the prolonged, protracted investigation into it. In each instance, I received a bland and copy and paste response. But there's actually been 10 Home Secretaries since the boiler house came down. Should I have written to more? Should I have written to all of them? I've sat on the sidelines and widely criticised the Thames Valley Police's handling of the investigation. I've called out the inaction of the Health and Safety Executive too. Was that helpful? Probably not. Was there something more positive I might have done? Probably not, but I never really stopped to ask. Could I have done more over the past 10 years? Possibly, probably. Would it have helped? Probably not, but I'll never know. I know the men on site that fateful day did all they could, all they were allowed to do in an attempt to rescue their fallen comrades. I know some of them remain in touch with the families of the 4 men to this day. But what of the wider demolition industry? Has it done enough over the past 10 years? It's observed minutes of silence for the victims during that time, but could it have done more? Should it have done more? Did the industry do enough to support the families of the 4 men, not just financially, but also in terms of emotional support? Has the industry maintained contact with those families, reassured them that they and their loved ones aren't forgotten? Did the industry do enough to support the demolition company caught in the midst of the investigation? In the clamour to appoint blame, did we forget that these are human beings too? That they too will be grieving? Did the industry do enough to support the police investigation? Could it perhaps have seconded one or more industry experts to help police understand the intricacies of demolition and structural engineering? Could that additional insight and expertise have helped bring the investigation to a more timely close? Could the industry have used its connection with the health and safety executive to produce some non-prejudicial interim findings and potentially make other boiler house demolitions that little bit safer? Could the industry have taken those interim findings and shared them with their demolition brothers and sisters around the world that are also working on power station demolition projects? Did the industry explore every opportunity to help bring this prolonged and protracted investigation to a conclusion? Or did it just accept that these things take time, that we need to allow investigations to run their course? We have thus far been prevented from learning any lessons from the incident itself. But has the industry learned anything about its reaction to the incident? Is the industry of today better equipped to respond to such a high profile incident than the industry of 10 years ago? Could we have done better back then? Will we do better if it happens again? The Didcot investigation will be concluded at some point. We already know that regardless of the failings, it will be too little, too late for the four men and for their families and friends. But the bigger question is this: was there anything more that we as individuals, companies, and organisations could have done over the course of the past 10 years? Honestly, truthfully, did we do enough?